Hi, my name is Doug Kearns, and I'm going to be conducting the webinar here today to show you some of the basics that can be constructed within Matrix, as well as other ways that you can utilize this software to assist either in your manufacturing or retail-based business. Matrix is written on top of a product called Rhino or Rhinoceros, and we actually utilize the viewports of Rhino that you're seeing here, as well as some of their tooling within Matrix as well. Just to kind of give to your head around what we're looking at here, I'll just bring up a ring so you can kind of take a look at it. We're looking at the looking down, the through finger, the side, and the perspective mode within these particular viewports. And at any given time, you can take the buttons and you can double click on them to make this images larger so you can see more of the detail. So by right mouse clicking, I can spin it around. I can zoom in and out on it by using my wheel. And then I always like to shade it to help me out and allow me to see it just a little bit better. And so we have a lot of different shade modes in here that we can incorporate. The one that I like to use really shows a lot of the lines and that sort of thing. And there's other ways too. I can turn this into metal colors, and you can put it on different layers or make it look more like plastic. But then there's a whole list of different ways that you can utilize it as well. You'll also notice by looking at this is that we've color-coded a lot of the layers. So if you look over here on the left-hand side, we have greens, that metals come in on shades of green, colored gemstones and diamonds come in on shades of blue, and heads and bezels and prongs come in on shades of purple. This helps you to understand exactly what you're looking at as you're going through this process. Plus, you can also come in at any given time, and we can turn off different layers in here as well. So let's say, for instance, I just wanted to look at how these bezels are coming into play here and that sort of thing. I can turn everything off and get it out of my way to better help me see just the purple layers. Okay. More important as you get into complex models and that sort of thing. You can also take a layer and you can put it onto a different layer as well. So you'll see as I get into my demonstration some examples of that will assist you to understand layering as well. And also we've made it so that if you right click on any layer, you can grab everything on that particular layer. So in the case if you're trying to move something, if you're trying to render, if you're trying to change, sometimes it's a lot easier to just right click on the color than to sit here and hold down shift and try to get, whatever it is that you're trying to grab. Okay. The area that I pulled this out of, this is called a project manager, and a project manager is a temporary holding facility for your specific design. So if you have a customer that comes in and is looking for something, you want to start to create it for them, what I suggest is that you actually start and put the customer's name in here. That way you have it to access. And there's also critical points as you're going through and building a model where you might want to resort back. Like let's say a customer comes in and they like something that you've already created, but they want to change this a little bit. It makes it convenient for you to go back in and pull that particular part out. As we look at our interface over here on the left-hand side, what we're going to look at here then is we do have a complete set of Rhino tools that sit up here across the top. We've also incorporated the Rhino tools into our interface here as well. Also color-coded so that as I go through the process, I don't even think about the word curve anymore. I just come to a color. So we have their menu under here, curve, surface, solid, and if I want to bend, twist, and turn something, then I go for the transform. A couple other buttons up here, Matrix Art and T-Splines, more advanced type modeling, help you with more organic type things. And so just to kind of get your head around this, I'm going to go ahead and start off with the builder section within Matrix. What are builders? Builders are going to be a set process. There's a few things that we've identified in the world of custom design and jewelry design that there's no reason to go in every single time and try to build something. We give you buttons that allow you to interface with the customers, but more importantly, not have to figure out all the math that takes place to go in and create a particular model. So as we look at these builders, one I like to show is this Celtic knot builder. So as we look at this, these squares reference a square out here as well. And right now it's set up by 12 by 8 sections. I can choose the shape, I can choose the height, I can choose the width. There's a lot of things I can control by utilizing these different areas here. But just to show you how this works, I'm just going to go ahead and start to click. If I left mouse click, I can come out here and just do a real simple Celtic knot cross. Okay, left mouse click. If I right mouse click, it makes it go straight. So if I wanted to put a little empty spot in the middle of there, I could do that by drawing a box. And if I right mouse click, it twists it back up. So depending on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, I can just sit and click and look at my preview down here to get an idea what it is that I'm looking at. Once I do that, I hit the word apply, and you can watch it go out on the screen, and it's going to draw this particular cross into the shape of what I've drawn over here on the left-hand side. Now as you watch this thing draw, if I didn't have this builder, what I would really need to do is I would need to physically go in and create a line that followed this shape all the way around, and then try to determine which one goes up and which one goes down. So what I just did here in a matter of really seconds, this might take you 20 to 30 minutes to draw this Celtic knot the way that I did, and a true knot coming off of here like this. And so that's where that's where builders become your friend. Okay, different types of builders. We have eternity band builder, signet ring builders, raised and lowered band builders, award top builders, Celtic knots, a couple different types of Celtic knots, jump ring builders, pattern builders, and nautilus builders. Okay, so all these are really there to assist you with some of the basic and structural type stuff that we do within the jewelry world. The other buttons that you see here actually reflect into our milling machines that we sell. And so if you're interested in getting into those, we can talk to you about those once you purchase software. So the next thing I want to do is I just want to build a real simple piece of jewelry. I just want to show you a little bit of the functionality in here so you can get an idea of how things work and hopefully see how this can benefit you and your business. Keep it in mind as we go through this process that software is just like any other tool that you have on your bench, in your store. It's there to use when you need to use it. Some people use it for everything. Other people use it for more complex projects. And some people just use it as a complete marketing tool. But I can tell you that there's not any piece of jewelry in the industry that Matrix cannot produce. Your imagination becomes your limitation. So as we look at this, I want to build a ring. So if I come to the tool section, and a lot of these buttons that we're looking at here, I'm going to show you how you can access those a lot quicker. We can come in here and choose our finger size from a 0 to a size 16 in quarter steps. I'm going to go ahead and stick with a finger size 7. So I hit this button and out pops a finger size 7. I'm going to double click on this. We're going to take a look at it. If I didn't have this builder in here, if I was using just Rhino as a standalone system, I would have to know the circumference of this finger size, figure that out, divide it by pi, and then figure out the radius from there. We do it with a click of a button. Now, personally, I like to work inside of a constraint is what I call it. And so if I went to the yellow section over here, the curve section, as an example, and if I wanted to build a square ring, I might just come in here and draw a square around the outside of my finger hole. At Gemvision and through our users and our technical supports department, we've learned that a lot of people like to design this way. So if I come in here and I select a curve, I double click there, that's why there's two curves, and I hit F6 on my keyboard, we have an outside ring rail. So when I click on the word outside ring rail, it brings up a defaulted shape. I don't worry about these control handles here. I do this if I need to at a later time. What I want you to focus on now is this little button here, because that is tied into a library of different shapes. I'm just going to scale this back so we can see it just a little bit better on the screen. There's all different types of shapes in here. And if I slide this off to the side, you'll notice that as I run my cursor over this, it's changing this outside shape. Okay? Now, you're not stuck with these shapes. You can add to these and alter these any way that you want to. And I'm just going to, like I mentioned, do something real basic here real quick. And let me make these bigger since I can't see them. Let's do something that kind of has a little bit of a square shank on the bottom of it. It looks like that. And I just hit enter. Now, my disclaimer here is if I was going to build a piece of jewelry, I would probably start with my stone layout first and then bring my shank up to it. But I like to get something up on the screen a little bit faster so you can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. I'm going to go ahead and select the inside rail again. And this time I'm going to say add a profile. And a profile is a cross section. Something that if you took a piece of jewelry and sawed it in half, that's what's going to make up this particular piece. Now, because I like to work inside of my constraint, if I hit select second rail and I select that outside rail, now this thing is locked in to the inside there. Okay? So I'm going to hit mirror, I'm going to hit add, and I'm going to drop this one down here to the bottom. And when I get to the bottom over here, whoops, sorry, turn my snap on here. When I get to the bottom, it snaps that right down to the very bottom, so I know exactly where that thing is at mathematically, and I hit enter. A lot of times question comes up, you know, do I have to use 3? Can I use more? You can use as many profiles as you want, and we teach you that in class. I like to stick with 3 when I'm doing this demo just because it makes a nice transition and can really still show you the same functionality as if I had 5 or more out there. Excuse me. So I'm going to hit sweep multi-rail because I have 1 rail and 2 rails on the outside here. I hit enter on my keyboard. It brings up these arrows, and then all I need to do is just click on the dots in the direction of the arrows. And the only conscious decision you need to make right now is, do I want this to be a solid band or do I want it to be open in the middle? So closed equals yes, which means it's going to be a solid band. I'm going to click it to closed equals no, and when I hit enter on my keyboard, I have now created a band. Okay? I'm going to take this while it's sitting here, and I'm going to drop it into my project manager just in case I ever want to come back and work with that again. If I zoom in on this, you can see that it's hollow. And so now what I want to do is take this, grab that curve that made it up, hit F6. The software knows that this is a creation curve, so I have 2 options. I can move, scale, and rotate it, or I can cap it. And I'm going to go ahead and cap it. All I need to do is grab these control points right here. I can pull this out or in to wherever I want it to go. And if you know you want it exactly 1.5 millimeters, I can type that right up here at the top and hit enter. Now exactly 1.5 millimeters off of the end. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to hit F6, cap profile, but this time I'm just going to hit flip twice because mathematically they're the same now. Some people that have looked at other CAD programs would say, well, why don't you just mirror that over? Well, if I mirror it over, my history is broken, and when my history is broken, I can't go back and update this. Okay? So what I just showed you there is kind of a surface modeling type technique where we're using curves and closed curves to be able to make a total surface, and that's really what Rhino was based to do. And Rhino has history, but so does Matrix. So let's talk about how to change this. So if I come down here to the very bottom of this particular piece of jewelry, and I grab the curve and I hit F6 again, but this time I'm going to hit move, scale, and rotate, and I can grab these control points right here and I can move them in and out to whatever thickness you would like for these to be. I'm going to make it about 2.5 millimeters, and for demonstration purposes today, I'm not going to be too concerned about getting it dead on. I think you'll get the idea. Click on my menu again. Here's my menu. I can come in here and I can make these bigger or smaller just like I did before. And you can see as I run my cursor over them, just like before, it's making a change down here at the bottom. So I'm going to choose this shape right here. I'm going to hit enter. And what it does is it takes that shape from the top and it transforms that down here to the bottom. So I've started already to create another piece of jewelry. And so we always say in the world of matrix, you can start off with a straight line and end up with a curve. A lot of that has to do with because of the way that we work with our history in here that allows you to do that. I'm going to do the same thing up here at the top. I'm going to pull this in, and let's pull it into about, I don't know, 4.5 millimeters, somewhere around there. And same thing, I'm going to change my shape up here, and just like before, I can add and alter these. And this time when I hit enter, what it's going to do is it's not only going to change the band, but it's also going to change the end cap. So I have a nice looking yet another piece of jewelry. So within a couple minutes there, I've really taken a 10 millimeter wide band and I've turned it into 3 pieces of jewelry, almost 4 pieces of jewelry really. Just so you know, when I cap these on the end, that same process within a Rhino command would take 5 steps, I believe it is, and I just did it with a couple clicks. Okay, so now we're going to come over here. I've used some of the tools that we saw in here. I'm going to jump over here to the gems. I'm going to click on gems. And what we have going on in here, if I grab the right one here, is we have diamond shapes. You can customize and make your own shapes. You can use cabochons or you can use gem shapes. Depends on what type of styling and design that you're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and choose a round diamond. I'm going to choose about a 1 carat. If you have the exact diamond with you or you have a cert that you're getting, you can put your diamond dimensions right down here and it will build it around it. Or some of you may have a sarin machine. If you take the sarin model, you can import that in and utilize that to work with the product as well. I'm going to hit F6, move, scale, and rotate. I'm just going to grab this arrow and I'm going to pull it up. Now, a lot of times I'm going to work in the perspective mode, but on something like this, I might want to come in here to the through finger viewport because I might want this to be a certain millimeter height off of this finger rail. And so I can come in and use a move command, or for today's purposes, I'm just going to eyeball it because each one of these squares here is a millimeter, so we're about 1.5 millimeters coming up off of there. And like I said, there's about 5 ways to get that thing to move. I'm going to come back to my perspective window, and now we just have to decide how we're going to set this. I'm going to hit F6. It hands me a lot more tools because now we're dealing with gems. We have cutters, we have heads, we have bezels, we have styles, we have different types of guides that you can turn on. You can duplicate stones. You can match attributes of the heads or bezels that you've created. So a lot more things that we can do with it. First thing I'm going to show you is bezel. When I click on the bezel, just like before, it defaults. I'm going to go ahead and turn my Boolean function off, which means that it cuts that out because I want to give it some more flexibility here as I'm going through the design process. Now, this is where jewelry knowledge, really starts to come to play. Because if I come in here and look at this, it says that my top thickness from my girdle to my edge of my from the inside to the outside of this particular bezel is 1.10 millimeters. Now, depending on what you're going to do with this, how big your monitor is, this is one of the things that people struggle with just a little bit to try to get their head around it because, they look at this and it looks heavy on their screen. So you have to learn to trust your measurements, okay? How much seat depth do you want? How wide do you want this chamfer to be? If I'm going to take and run a halo around the top of this, I'm going to use 1 millimeter stones. I'm probably going to want to take this out, far enough to be able to, for sure, to be able to hold the prongs. And so being able to know that from a jewelry standpoint is very important. Is a 1/4 millimeter enough? Maybe not. Maybe 1.5 millimeters might be right, so you can get some 1/2 millimeter prongs around there. Okay, so just knowing where you're going. How much thickness do you need at the top and the bottom? Okay, I might be able to take a little bit of weight out of this by pulling this out. Things that you're going to know, and just like before, there's our library, so we have different shapes that you can utilize there as well. I'll show you this tool real quick, but if I select the bezel and hit F6, I hit bezel cutter, it brings up a cutter that I can then turn this bezel into a head, and I can choose however many prongs I want, whether it's going to go this way or whether it's going to go this way. And again, knowing your jewelry and knowing how much metal we need underneath here to make this thing stable is critical if we're going to go in and say do some sort of a half bezel. So understanding jewelry, once again, you have to know manufacturing. Okay. The other thing I'll show you here real quick is head builder. Head builder allows me to come in and create a head. We have 4 levels of head builder. Level 1 allows me to, whatever I do to one part of this, it's going to do the same thing to all 4 prongs. So if I want to nudge these ends a little bit, if I want to change these from round prongs to square prongs, it's going to do it at the top and the bottom. And basically on the rails, I have the ability to move them up or down. Okay. When I click on level 2, I now have broken this apart. So if I come in here and click on my R for rail, and I change my rail count from 2 to 1, and I click on the R here, now I can pull this up and make it a cup head. If I want to click on this and make it something a little bit fancier, I can do that. If I click on my P for prongs, I have control over my measurement, but just like before, I can come in here and maybe put a different type of a prong on there to make it a little bit fancier. Maybe I want to take a little bit more weight out of that. Level 3, I now have control over the tops of the prongs, independently of the bottoms of the prongs, and I still have control over the railing. And then level 4, I have control over each component. Okay, so if I want to make this one that shape, I can go ahead and adjust that however I see fit to be able to make the design however I want it. Okay, so we can control each component of this particular part here. And I'm going to hit enter. All I need to do now is just a couple things left here. And one, I'm going to go ahead and take my curve out here, move, scale, and rotate. And I'm going to pull this up. And I might flatten this off just a little bit. And this is why I say if I started off with my stones up here first, I'd know where I needed to place these to begin with. But I like to just get something up there, you know, pretty quickly so people can kind of see it. I'm going to pull this in just a little bit, maybe down to 4 millimeters. Kind of bring that in a little bit more to work a little bit better with that head shape. And there is the start of my piece of jewelry. And we'll go ahead and drop this into a project manager. So why is it important to drop it into a project manager right here? Well, because I still have control over this, right? If a client comes in and says, you know, I really like the looks of this simple piece of jewelry, but I don't really like the lips on there. I really like the shape down here at the bottom. Well, if I pull this out of this project manager and come in here to move, scale, and rotate, and I click on my library here again, and I come back to that same shape and I hit enter, I've just updated that mounting with a click of a button, and it's off and running. Okay. If you feel that this is a little bit too thick, I can come out here, edit outside, take this from 2 millimeters, and a lot of times I use this line as my visual because jewelry is full of lines that flow. And so now I just brought that down so that my eye just kind of travels right up into the middle of this upper rail here so I could see it. Okay. And same thing with the bottom. If you want to take a little weight out of it or something, you can do that as well. The next thing I want to show you here, we're going to come back to our yellow curve menu, and I'm going to click here, and I'm going to come down here to my layer menu, and I'm going to put this onto a red layer, okay? Because I want to come out here and I want to grab a curve out of here, and I want to find the middle of this, and you'll notice as I drive this thing across that it's snapping to different places out here, and that's what I want it to do. So I snap it to the midpoint, so we have a line going all the way around there right in the center. I put it on a different color because if I deselect that, how do I come back and get it? Well, if it's green, I'd never find it. But if it's red, I can see it. F6, gems on a curve, and it brings up gems on a curve. Okay. So I can drive these around just using my little start and stop point. I can change the shapes. I can decide if I want them sunk down because I want to put a little cutout around them, like a little channel around them, and then put the beads on there. whatever it may be. As I hold my cursor over top of this, you'll see that I'm dealing with 3-point diamonds, or 2mm stones. There's 7 of them weighing 21 points. If I want to taper these, I can come up here to taper diameter equals no, and I can click on it and change it to yes. And now I can start to scale these down or up to whatever total weight that I'm looking for. So if you're trying to hit a certain price point, if your customer has a significant number in mind that they're looking for, a certain total weight or something like that, it's very easy to come in and adjust these to give the client what they want. And the important part here is the client gets what they want. Okay? I can sink these down, move these up. But I'm just going to go up here. I'm just going to show the prongs. So I'm going to turn the prongs on just to do a little bead sort of setting here. And I'm just going to pull these down just a little bit. We still have a nudge in here, and this knows that this is tapered, so it's adjusting it down here as well. And what's really kind of cool is no matter what I do with these, you'll notice that the prongs are following it, because the line has history with the stones have history with the prongs, and that's what's making that work. So when I hit enter, there is our little bead set prongs there. Now I am going to go ahead and grab these stones and these diamonds. I'm going to come over here to my mirror command. I'm going to hit F4 on my keyboard and hold down shift, and now mathematically this whole piece of jewelry is identical from one side to the other. And I'm now ready to turn it into a finished looking piece. So if I use my cutter and I cut that bottom out, we've got that all positioned the way we want it to. I didn't show it to you, but I could come in and cut this out perfectly out of here. So all you'd need to do is go in and notch that and take your laser welder and hit it with a laser welder, and you've got it all assembled, whatever it is that you want to do. Okay? The next thing I want to do is I want to render this. So I come over here, click on render. First button here is our render application, and there's 2 ways that I can render. One is what we call a quick render. In other words, it's going to use the layer menus to adjust this. So if I look at this right now, this is going to be all white gold, because I've got white gold on this layer, I've got white gold on the purple layer, and then we've got diamonds going on in the light blue layer. Okay? So if all I want to do is something real quick, I just come up here and hit the word render, and it goes out. It jumps into a product called V-Ray, which is we've mixed up all the different colors for, and it goes out, and depends on the processor speed of your computer. It renders this out in typically under 30 seconds or so. Oops, sorry about that. I guess it's on platinum white gold, but that's okay. You can see the color contrast there. And there, it's done. Okay, if I want to take it one step further, I can jump into the applied materials. And the applied materials are just that. I can come in here and I can select, right-clicking on my layer. I can decide, well, what color do I want this to be? And just to show you some contrast here, we'll go ahead and turn this into yellow gold. And you can choose the hue of the yellow gold that you want. And all I did is hit this green button, and it worked its magic there. The next button, we're going to make it white gold, all the heads. I'm going to take this stone right here, and I'm going to put it on a different color for now. I'm going to right-click on the stones, and we're going to jump over here to our color gemstone and diamond area. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this down and turn this into these into diamonds. And go ahead and hit that. Now that's been applied. I'm going to grab the center stone. I don't know why I've been kind of in a blue diamond sort of a mood here lately. Now, what's really cool is that I can come in here, and this is showing the original color right here. But I can start to skew this and get whatever color it is I'm trying to hit. So if I want to bring the greens up in it a little bit, I want to make it more more aqua colored, whatever it may be, I can do so. And when I hit reset and I click on this button here, it's now applied this color to that center stone. Okay? So you can mix your own colors of gemstones. Over here is going to be our backgrounds. Where do I want this thing sitting? Do I want it on black? Do I want it on brick? Do I want it on copper, colored paper. Backgrounds can play a huge role in how a particular piece of jewelry looks as we're going through this whole process. Okay, keep it in mind though that some backgrounds that you choose will take longer to render than others. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the render button on this and see how this looks. And here it comes. We've got it on a picnic table blanket. So rendering is an art within an art. You can do a lot of great things with it. You can change a lot of colors. You can make things soften. There's an edge soften command that we can do to round things over, because a lot of times people say, jewelry looks CAD-like. Well, it does look CAD-like because it's hard edge, because we fix that when we're doing the polishing process on this. So, it's just kind of fun to come in here and play with different things and kind of get an idea of, what you like, what you don't like. And like I said, it's just a click of a button and another render, and you're off and running. So while this is rendering, let's talk a little bit about pricing. U.S. pricing for the product is $6,995. It includes a full copy of Matrix, full copy of Rhino, V-Ray, and T-splines. It gives you 1 year of technical support, and it also gives you access to our user forum. And then the training varies on pricing, depends on where you want to take it. If you come to our corporate facility here in Moline, Illinois, we charge $14.95 for the 4-day class. We do have a joint class that's both the mill and the matrix. It's 5 days. That's the same pricing. If you decide to go to one of our remote classes, New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, wherever else we decide to hold them, those are a little bit more money. They range anywhere from $17.95 to $18.95, depending on what it is that where it is that you want to go and attend. With, of course, New York being the most expensive due to the cost of that lovely city. So, as we sit and we look at this and try to decide, what it is that is going to work for you. The biggest commitment, the biggest investment from this doesn't come from buying the software or taking the training or traveling to attend the training. The biggest investment comes from your time, and that's why technical support is so critical as you're looking at a piece of software. Gemvision not only continues to lead the industry, last statistical information, we had about 50% of the market share in the world of custom jewelry design software products, but really we're one of the best in technical support. We eat, sleep, and breathe jewelry. When I'm at the JCK show in Las Vegas, I had 22 people out there, but I still have over 30, 35 people back at my office that are there to support you and to make sure that your product is working correctly for you. And, that's the important part, being able to understand that I have a whole team of people that's going to back up whatever I say. The education side, we write all of our own manuals. We write all of our own software. We have educational facilities all around the world that teach Matrix that we then hand them the curriculum, GIA being one of them, Paris Jewelry Institute, Minnesota Technical College, Kansas University, Washington State, it goes on and on. And so, why? Because we really, really, truly understand jewelry, and this is our passion. This product was born and developed out of our own retail store because we got tired of people not being able to see. And then as prices of metal went up, we decided we needed to jump in and, produce a 3D product that is, easy to understand and allows you to deliver a product that is going to be able to be manufactured and set. And as you watch these design contests, Spectrum and all these different design contests that are going on around the world and have been, and they do a great job, you can tell that more and more of those designs are being pushed by CAD technology. They've accepted it, and the reason for it is that this is where the business is at today. Not saying we're going to eliminate the hand carver or anything like that. I'm just saying that why not capitalize on a tool that gives you the ability to never have to say no. and have a machine manufacture it, and then you can work your magic on the back side of it to finish up the model. So just letting some renders run by here. Some of these are older, some of them are newer, so you can get an idea of that's a finished piece. So if you have any questions, of course you can visit gemvision.com or give us a call at 800-357-6272. Hit extension 2 and that'll ring into our sales department, as we're here to answer any questions that you may have and make sure that we can get you going with a really nice class and get you up to speed as quickly as we can so you can start recuperating your investment. We do offer weekly webinars on both our Countersketch program and our Matrix program. Weekly Countersketch is on Tuesdays at 11 o'clock Central Time, and you can sign up for that on our website, as well as our Matrix webinar live is on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock Central Time. So hopefully you've gotten a good idea of how this particular product can work and can understand that this is where this industry is going, and we hope that you invest in the product real soon, as we're here to help you and assist you in any way that we can. Just one last thing. I clicked on this band and whoops, let's turn this off. I clicked on this band right here, and it'll show me in any metal weight in grams or penny weight what this is going to weigh out as finished. So now you can get your costing down as well. So hopefully, like I said, I hope to see you all in a class. And just go to gemvision.com, if I can type, and find out more information right here. Enjoy your day.